Hi guys, in the last modules we have discussed the while loop and the do while loop. In this video we are going to discuss a very important topic of loop, that is a for loop in C++ programming language. In this video first we will discuss about the basic syntax of the for loop, then we will be discussing about the flow chart, and then we are going to do the multiple practice questions on the for loop. So let's start this video. The topic for this video is for loop in C++. For loop in C++. For loop. Let's start with the basic syntax. So the syntax of the for loop says that first you need to write a for. This is a basic syntax. Then inside this you will write a initialization. Initialization. And after that you are going to write a condition. Then you are going to update that condition. We need to pass three parameters inside the for. First one is initialization, second one is condition, third one is the condition update, and then inside this curly braces we will write the body of for loop. Body of for loop. So this is the basic syntax. Now let's understand the syntax with the flow chart of the flow chart of the for loop. This is a syntax. Now first step two is to initialize the expression. So first we will initialize the expression. Initialization of expression. And the things will become more clear when we will do the practical implementation. So first we are going to initialize the expression, like in while loop we are defining the value of I equal to 0. So this is called as the initialization. I equal to 1, from where I want to start my loop. That is called as the initialization. After the initialization we will move to the second step. The second step says that we need to test the condition. We need to test the condition. This is the second step. Second step of is to testing the condition. First we will initialize the variable, like I equal, from where I want to start, I equal to 0, I equal to 1, or any other value. So that is called as the initialization. After that we are going, let me first erase this, create this in a proper manner. Initialization. Then the second step is to test the condition. Test condition. And after testing the condition, this condition will provide me the two results. Either it will provide me the true or it will provide me the false. If in case of false, if it provides me the false, obviously in case of false condition, the execution of the for loop will stop and we will move outside the for loop. Outside the for loop. But in case of this condition is true, in this case the condition is true. In that case, we will execute the body of for loop. For loop body will be executed. For loop body will be executing, and after executing the body of the for loop, this statement will come into picture. That means the value of expression will be updated. Like in while loop we were initializing the I equal to 0, and after each iteration we are doing the I plus plus. That means we are increasing the value of I with 1. So this is called as the updation statement. So we will also be doing the updation in this for loop also. So after each expression, after each condition check, the body of the while loop will execute. Is this, and after executing the body of the while loop, it will update the expression. Update expression. And after updating the expression, it is again going to execute. It is again going to check for this condition. It is again going to check for this condition, and the cycle will continue until the condition will become false. So first it is going to initialize the expression, like this step. Initialization, like I equal to 0, from where I want to start. Then it is going to test the condition. In testing we will be getting the two output, either the true or it or the false. So if in case of false, the execution of the for loop will stop and we will move outside the for loop. If in case it is true, then first step is to execute the body of the for loop. For loop body will be executing, and after that it is going to update the expression. So will do first thing, two things. First, this body will be executing in case of true, and then it will update this condition. So this is called as a syntax and the flow chart of the for loop. Now let's do some practical implementation, understand the concept of a for loop. So here I'm creating a new file for loop.cpp. Here we are going to create a program, C++ program, to print number from 1 to 5, number from 1 to 5. So let's include the header file iostream, then using namespace standard, and then the main function. Main function, and inside this we are simply writing a for loop. So first, in for loop we are passing the three parameter. First one is called as initialization. From where I want to start? I want to start the value of I. I'm simply defining a variable I, int I equal to 1. From this I want to start, and after that I want to, this is the second condition. Condition means where I want to stop the for loop. So I want to stop the for loop at the when I is less than equal to 5. This is my condition. And after each iteration I want to increase the value of I. I'm simply increasing the value of I by 1, and then I am simply printing I in each iteration. Let's execute this. The program is getting executed and we are getting the output as 1 2 3 4 5. Let's understand this with a dry run. So here I am starting the for loop for I equal to 1. So in first iteration the value of I is 1. Value of I is 1 in first iteration. So the value of I is 1. Now it is going to check for the condition. It will check for this condition. I1 is less than equal to 5 or not, because I is storing the value 1, so it will check for this condition. 1 is less than equal to 5 or not. So obviously this is true. This is true. So it will print I on the output screen, and I is storing 1. So 1 is printed on my output screen. This is output. Then in next iteration, this is second iteration. And after that, due to this line, it will update the value of I. So the value of I will become 2, because we are doing I plus plus. The value of I will be increased by 1. So in second iteration, the value of I will become 2. Now it will check for this condition. 2 is less than equal to 5. Yes, the condition is true. In this case also, the condition is true. So the value of I will be printed. The value of I is 2. So 2 will be printed on my output screen. Now in third iteration, and after this iteration, the value of I will also increase. In first iteration, the value of I was 1. Now the value of I has become 2 because of this sign, I plus plus. And in second iteration, the value of I was 2. And now the value of I has become 3 because of I plus plus. In the third iteration, the value of I is 3. It will check for this condition. 3 is less than equal to 5 or not. Yes, this is condition is true. 3 is less than equal to 5. So it will print 3 on my output screen. 3 will get printed on my output screen. And due to I plus plus, the value of I will become 4. Again in fourth iteration, it will check the value of I is 4. It will check 4 is less than equal to 5 or not. Condition is true. It will print 4 on my output screen. It will print 4 on my output screen, and the value of I will become 5. The value of I will become 5. In fifth iteration, it will check the value of I is 5 in fifth iteration. It will check 5 is less than equal to 5 or not. Obviously the condition is true, because 5 is not less than 5, but 5 is equal to 5. So the condition is true. And it will print 5 on my output screen. Now the value of I will become 6 because of this I plus plus. So the sixth iteration, the value of I is 6. It will check 6 is less than equal to 5 or not. The condition is false. This time the condition is false. So the execution of the while loop will stop. Execution of the while loop will stop, and we will get this as on my output screen, 1 2 3 4 5. So this will be printed on my output screen, and when the execution will move to the sixth iteration, the condition will become false. So the execution of the for loop will stop. So this was the concept of the for loop. Now let's do some practice questions. Now let's move to some practice questions. So here we are doing our first practice question, that is printing the sum of first net first n natural numbers. Let me remove this from here. Now we are going to write another new program, that is print the sum of first n natural numbers. Natural number n is the value provided by the user. So here I am creating a variable n, and then I am also creating a sum variable which is initially storing 0. Now we are simply going to take the input from the user, enter the value of n, enter the value of n, enter the value of n, then a line break. And we are taking the input from the user, that is n, and after that we are executing the for loop. Inside for loop, I want to start from int I equal to 0. I want to start from int I equal to 1. Okay, then I want to check this condition until and unless I is less than equal to n. I want to check this condition, and after each iteration I want to increase the value of I by 1. And in for loop I am doing sum equal to sum plus I. In each iteration I am simply adding the value of I to the sum variable, and in last I am simply doing the cout sum. Let's execute this. So first it is asking me for the value of n. I provided the 3, so I'm getting the 6 as the output. Let's understand this. So basically, I have created two variables, n and sum equal to 0. We are taking the input from the user n, and the user provided the value of n as 3. Being a user, I provided the value of user n as 3. So the execution started. In first iteration, I want to start from I equal to 1. So in first iteration, it checked for I equal to 1. It will check for this condition, 1 is less than equal to 3 or not. 1 is less than equal to 3 or not. So the condition is true. Condition is true because 1 is less than equal to 3. So the execution will move to the body of for loop. It will simply do sum equal to sum plus I. Initially, the sum variable is storing the 0. So it will become 0 plus the value of I is 1. So the sum will become 1 in first iteration. So the value of sum will become 1 in first iteration, and the value of I will become 2 because of this I plus plus, and I will become 2 in first iteration. In second iteration, the value of I is 2 because it was increased in the last iteration. It will check 2 is less than equal to 3 or not. The condition is true. The sum will become, this time the sum will become, initially the sum is storing the value 1 and the value of I is 2. So the sum will become 3. Sum will become 3. So total sum is 3, and the value of I will become 3 also, because it will be increased due to this statement. I is 2, I plus plus means increased by 1. I is 3. In third iteration, the value of I has become 3. Now it will check 3 is less than equal to 3 or not. The condition is true because 3 is not less than, but 3 is equal to 3. So the condition is true. So the sum will become, in this iteration, moment. So okay, so sum, just erase this. So in the third iteration, the sum will become sum equal to, initially the sum is storing 3. Initially the sum is storing 3, and I want to add I. The value of I is 3. So sum will become 6. Sum will become 6. Sum is 6. And the value of I will become 4. I will become 4. In fourth iteration, again, in fourth iteration, I will become 4. It will check for this condition. 4 is less than equal to 4 or not. 4 is less than equal to 3 or not. The condition is false. Condition is false. So the execution of the for loop will stop, and the program will come to end, and we are simply printing the sum variable. So the sum variable is storing the value 6. So this will be printed on my output screen. This was about printing the sum until the n natural numbers. Now let's execute one more program, that is finding the factorial of a number. me comment this. Now we are writing another program. Write a program to find the factorial of a number. Factorial of a number. So here I'm creating a variable n that I want to take the input from the user, then enter the value of n, and then a line break. This value will be provided by the user, then I want to take the input from the user. Then I'm executing the for loop. I want to start from I equal to 1, and then I want to check the condition until and unless I is less than equal to n. I want to execute the for loop, and after each iteration I want to increase the value of I. And the factorial means, factorial we already have discussed. The meaning of the factorial is, let me explain you again. Moment. The meaning of the factorial is, if the user provided the value 3, so I want 3 into 2 into 1. If the user provided 5, then I want 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. So this is called as a factorial. Let me erase this. So that's the reason I'm taking the value of n from the user, and then I'm simply calculating the factorial. For calculating the factorial, I'm using the for loop. Initially, I'm starting from int I equal to 1. Then I'm increasing the value of I after each iteration, and I'm simply checking the condition until and unless I is less than equal to n. And what I want to print, I simply want to print. Initially, I'm also declaring a variable over here, int factorial, which is initially storing value 1. Now, after each iteration, I simply want to print factorial equal to factorial into I, and in last, I will simply print the value of the factorial, and then a line break. Let's execute this. Provide the value of n as 5, so I'm getting the 120. Let's provide the value of n as 3, I'm getting 6. So basically what it is doing, it is taking the input. Let me explain you. It is taking the input from the user. First, it has taken the value of n. I provided the value as 3. Now the factorial is initially storing 1. So in first iteration, the value of I is 1. So the factorial will be multiplied by 1. So the value of factorial will become 1 into 1, that is 1 in first iteration. In second iteration, the factorial will become, the value of I is increased by 1, that is the value of I will become 2. The factorial will become 1 into 2, that is 2. In third iteration, the value of I will become I plus plus, that is 3. The value of I will become 3. So it will basically, the factorial will become 2. Initially it is 2. Now it will multiply it by the value of I, that is 2 into 3, that is 6. And in next iteration, the condition will become false. In this way, we are able to calculate the factorial of a number. Now, I am providing you some practice questions. Try to basically write those questions by yourself. First one is, write a program. Write a program to print the multiplication table of the number provided by user. This is our first program. Then try to print this question also, that is, try to reverse the string. Reverse the string provided by the user using for loop. Try to implement these two questions by yourself, and we are done with the for loop. In this video, we discussed about the basic syntax of the for loop, then we discussed about the flow chart, and after that, we implemented the multiple practice questions on the for loop. And I have provided you two practice questions by yourself. Try to implement these two practice questions by yourself.